Subscribe to Keep It Terrifying for creepy tales, horror, and nightmares you won't forget. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and keep it terrifying.
Title: Glitch in the Dark. Part 1, The Invitation. Cel had always felt more alive in the glow of a screen than under sunlight. At 21, she'd built a modest but loyal following online, known for diving deep into obscure, forgotten horror games, those with grainy textures, broken code, and unsettling, unexplained mechanics. Her fans loved it. The stranger the game, the better the views. One night, after streaming a particularly glitchy PS1-era game called Coffinwood, Cel noticed a strange new message in her inbox, not from any platform she recognized. Subject: For you, a game few dare to finish. No sender. No return address. Attached was a single file, decay.zip. She almost deleted it: scam, malware, something stupid. But the curiosity was too strong, and maybe it would make a great stream. She ran it through antivirus software first. Nothing. Not even a blip. When she launched the game, her screen flickered, and her speakers hissed like static. Then came the title screen, DECAY. A game by. The menu was barebones: start/settings/exit. She clicked start. No opening cinematic. No tutorials. Just Cel, standing in a pixelated, dim hallway that stretched endlessly in both directions. The graphics mimicked early 2000s horror, but something felt off. Too sharp, too aware. Like it was watching her more than she was playing it. She moved forward. As Cel explored, she noticed the game behaved strangely. Every time she passed a certain door, her webcam light blinked on, even though she hadn't enabled it. In-game whispers would echo her own words seconds after she spoke. And then, a room. Inside, a low-res mirror showed her in-game character, except it wasn't her avatar anymore. It was her, exactly as she looked at that moment. Same hoodie. Same lighting in the background. Same cautious expression. She leaned closer. The reflection didn't move. Then, it blinked. And smiled. Cel yanked off her headset, heart pounding. This had to be a prank. Maybe someone was remote viewing her webcam. She checked every running process, disconnected from the internet, and even covered her camera. When she returned to the game screen, the room had changed. The mirror was shattered. Written on the wall in crude red pixels were the words, "Welcome back, Ciel." She hadn't entered her name. Not anywhere. Hands trembling, she tried to quit the game. Nothing happened. ESC didn't work. Alt plus F4 failed. Even the task manager froze. Then a new message appeared: if you stop playing, you die. She laughed nervously. A threat? A scare tactic? But the game window suddenly shrank into a small box and moved itself into the corner of her screen, while her desktop camera app opened on its own. She saw herself. And behind her, for just a second. A figure. Pale. Smiling. Cel spun in her chair. No one. When she looked back, the camera was off again. The game had maximized. This time, her character was no longer in the hallway. She was outside. In the woods. Night sky above, flickering stars like broken pixels. The only sound was the wind. And the game began to speak to her. You brought me back. You pressed start. You invited me in. The words echoed not just in the game, but through her speakers, warped, metallic, but unmistakably, her own voice. Cel's skin went cold. What was this game? And why did it feel less like playing, and more like being played? Part 2, Save points don't exist. Cel didn't sleep that night. She kept the game open, afraid of what might happen if she closed it. Or what might crawl out if she didn't watch it. Every few minutes, the screen would flicker, not just in-game, her whole monitor. Icons on her desktop disappeared. Some changed names to things she never created. L00K.back. T1M3.is.flat. Save_yourself.exe, clicking any of them just reopened Decay. No matter what she did, the game stayed. She finally convinced herself to play more. Maybe finishing it would end it. Back in the woods, her character stood alone. A prompt blinked at the bottom of the screen, Q, surrender. E, keep going. She pressed E. The screen cut to black. Footsteps. Not from the speakers, from behind her. Cell froze. A voice whispered low and clear, right next to her ear, wrong choice. The game returned, but it wasn't in third person anymore. It had switched to first person. Her character's hands on screen looked exactly like hers. Same nail polish. Same wristband. Her environment was no longer a stylized forest. It looked real. High-res, photorealistic, like it had been filmed, not rendered. The camera swayed exactly as her head moved. This wasn't a game anymore. This was a mirror. She wandered through digital woods that somehow matched the park near her apartment. A place she'd gone often as a kid. She recognized the worn swing set, the cracked water fountain. None of this had ever been in the game. None of it could be. Cell typed into her streaming chat, unsure if anyone could even see her screen anymore. Am I live? Can you see this? No responses. The stream was down. A new message appeared on screen, no audience now. Just you. And me. Then a cutscene triggered, grainy, VHS quality. It showed a room. Hers. But from a corner angle, as if filmed by a security cam. She watched herself sleeping. The camera timestamp read 3:17 a.m. Tonight's date. The footage fast-forwarded. Her body began to twitch violently in bed. Then stopped. A dark shape appeared at the foot of the bed. It leaned over her. Cell's in-game character began screaming. She yanked the power cord from her PC. The screen went dark. Silence. No fans. No hum. Just her breathing. She stood there for a long time, unsure what she had just witnessed. Then her phone buzzed. A notification. It was a video. No number. No contact name. She opened it. It was the same security footage. But this time, she wasn't asleep. She was sitting at her desk, right now. In real time. The video panned slowly, to show someone standing behind her. She turned. Nothing. The air felt thick. Unclean. She tried calling someone, anyone. But every contact had been replaced with the same name, Cell. All of them. When she looked back at her screen, the PC had turned itself back on. The game was already running. This time, the main menu looked different. There were two options now: start over. Remember. And beneath that, one more message, blinking slowly in red: you've played before. Part 3, you were always here. Cell stared at the new menu options. Start over. Remember. She didn't click anything. Not yet. Instead, she tried something she hadn't done before. She opened the game files again, checked the install directory. But there was nothing. No Decay folder. No .exe. Nothing in programs, downloads, or even the registry. It was like the game didn't exist. Yet it was running. Right in front of her. Out of desperation, she clicked remember. The screen didn't fade this time. It snapped. A sharp, almost painful transition, like a TV switching channels too fast. Static flared across her screen, and then, her in-game character was back. But the setting had changed again. It was a house. Her house. Not the in-game version. The exact same layout. Same chipped paint on the bedroom door. Same broken tile in the kitchen corner. Even the hallway light flickered just like it did in real life. It wasn't rendered or designed. It was filmed. Photorealistic. Impossible. Cell whispered, "What is this?" The character, her, moved on its own. She watched as she walked down the hall toward the bedroom. The camera paused at the closed door. Then something knocked from the other side, 3 sharp knocks. She didn't do that. The knocks echoed again. In real life. 3 sharp knocks. Cell nearly fell out of her chair. Her eyes darted to her own bedroom door. Closed. Still. She didn't dare approach it. On screen, her character opened the door. Inside the room was a figure standing with its back turned. Barefoot. Pale. Long black hair that glitched slightly at the ends, twitching like corrupted pixels. Cell's character stepped in. The figure turned. It had her face. Not mirrored. Not copied. Perfectly her. But its eyes were wrong. Pure black. Not darkness, absence. Like something had scooped them out and filled the sockets with void. It smiled and whispered, "I kept your spot warm." Suddenly, the figure lunged forward, and the screen shattered. Not metaphorically. The game window itself fragmented like broken glass. Bits of UI, HUD, and pixels scattered like debris. Underneath the shards was something else. A video. An old one. Cell recognized it immediately. One of her first streams, back when she only had 10 followers, she was playing a basic indie horror game. Laughing nervously. She remembered this stream. But there was something added. At the far edge of the screen, in the background of her webcam, barely visible in the shadows, stood a figure. Same pale skin. Same black hair. Watching her. It had been there since the beginning. She scrubbed through other videos on her drive. It was always there. In the closet. Behind curtains. Reflected in screens. Every single one. The thing in the game hadn't arrived. It had always been here. Part 4, The Patch Notes lied. Cell felt her sanity unraveling like old cassette tape. That night, she didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every sound, every creak of the floor or hum of the fridge, felt like footsteps. The air in her room was cold but stagnant, as if something was breathing with her. Watching her. Waiting. She stopped checking her phone. Notifications were scrambled. Missed calls appeared from her own number. One voicemail played back her own voice whispering, "Let me in," over and over, getting more distorted each time until it ended in a wet gurgle. The game still ran, even after rebooting her PC. She tried to uninstall it. Nothing worked. Eventually, she stopped trying. On the morning of the 3rd day, Cell received a new email. Subject, Decay, Patch Notes 1.0.7. The email had no sender, just like the original. But this time, it included a changelog. Patch 1.0.7, Reality Integration Update. Added biometric feedback from player behavior. Synced game memory with Personal Trauma Archive. Enabled Layer 3, Origin Recall. Fixed bug where player believed this was fiction. Removed exit option. She stared at it for nearly an hour. Biometric feedback. Personal trauma. It wasn't a game anymore. It was something else. When she opened it again, the title screen didn't even appear. Straight into gameplay. This time, she wasn't in her home. Or the woods. Or any place she recognized. It was a long, white hallway. Walls pulsing softly, like breathing tissue. The air shimmered, as though underwater. Strange glyphs floated across the walls, symbols she somehow understood, even though she'd never seen them. You have been here before. The words weren't spoken. They were felt. Like they came from behind her own eyes. As Cell moved forward, the hallway opened into a vast, empty room. Floating in the center was a screen, just like hers. A perfect replica of her gaming setup. And sitting at the desk was her, again. Except this version of her was crying. Not in fear, but exhaustion. Defeat. The camera circled around slowly to show her face. It was older. Pale. Hollow-eyed. She'd been there for years. Suddenly, text appeared on the floating screen. Retry attempt number 43 initiated. Consciousness shard 44.03 rebooting, and the older Cell looked straight into the camera and said, "Please. Don't play again. Let me go." The screen shattered again, back to black. This time, a command prompt opened. No graphics. Just text. It read. CL_root access.memory, layer 3. Access granted. Welcome back, Cell. Do you remember the first time you died? Cell's breath caught in her throat. She didn't know what it meant. Not yet. But deep down, in the part of her mind she had always tried to ignore, something stirred. Like a door had opened. A real one. Flashes of images followed, a car crash. Screaming. Static. A hospital room. Her own name written on a toe tag. She blinked, and found herself back at the title screen again. But this time, the game was no longer called Decay. It was called, Reinstalling, CL.exe. And underneath that, one final message: you didn't survive. You were just rebooted. Part 5, The Save That Wasn't. Cell stared at the new title screen. Reinstalling, Cell.exe. Her hands shook over the keyboard. This wasn't a game. It wasn't even malware. It was something older, deeper. Something that had been waiting for her long before she ever downloaded anything. With a trembling finger, she hit enter. No sound. No music. Just a slow, steady heartbeat over the speakers, hers. She could feel it sync with her own chest, every thump perfectly aligned. The screen went black, then bloomed with white text. Boot sequence complete. Hello, Cell. You died on October 2nd, 2023. We saved what we could. Her mouth went dry. That date, the crash. The one she buried in her head. The night after her last stream. She remembered driving home in the rain. Headlights swerving. A horn. Then nothing but static. Images hit her like shrapnel, broken glass, blood, the wet smell of metal. Her last thought before she blacked out had been, I wish I could keep playing. And now here she was. On screen, a new interface appeared, dozens of folders with timestamps, each labeled with cryptic notes. Run_instance_01, fail. Run_instance_02, fail. Run_instance_43, fail. And at the bottom, Run_instance_44, current. She scrolled. Each instance contained clips of her life, versions of her. Some lasted days, some only minutes. Each one ended with a corrupted video of her face, eyes black, whispering something she couldn't make out. A line of text blinked at the bottom of the screen, you are not playing. You are recovering. But recovery requires choices. Then two options appeared, A. Continue simulation. B. Terminate instance. Her heart pounded. Terminate instance. That meant, her. This version. This run. Maybe it would end the loop. Or maybe she would just vanish. Before she could decide, the screen flickered. A second window opened, a video feed from her webcam. She saw herself, pale, sweating. And standing behind her was the other cell, the black-eyed one. It leaned close to the camera and spoke with a voice made of static, "You don't choose." "I do." Then everything inverted. Her room flipped inside out. The walls folded into the screen like wet paper. She felt herself falling, not through space, but through code. Her memories shredded into pixels. She landed on a floor made of her own photographs, old streams, messages, faces she half remembered. The black-eyed cell waited there, smiling. "Why?" Cell gasped. The thing tilted its head. "Because you asked to keep playing." It reached out a hand. Cell backed away, but the floor cracked like glass under her feet, revealing a void of raw static. "You're not a gamer," the thing whispered. "You're a save file." The words punched through her skull like ice water. Every memory she'd had, the streams, the fans, the obscure games, they weren't hers. They were replays. Fragments of the real Cell, the one who died. She wasn't living. She was running. And every time she reached this moment, she forgot again. The thing smiled wider. "We're almost at the end." The screen above flickered, showing one last prompt: final decision, A. Merge with original. B. Delete this instance. The black-eyed cell held out its hand. "This time, choose right," it hissed. "Or we start again." Cell stared at the options, her finger trembling over the keys. Part 6, the final run. Cell's finger hovered over the keyboard. A. Merge with original. B. Delete this instance. The black-eyed cell waited, hand outstretched. Its grin twitched like a corrupted GIF, flickering between a smile and a scream. She didn't move. "Not yet. Why are you doing this?" Cell whispered. The thing tilted its head. "Because you asked. Because you pressed start. Because you wanted to see how it ends." Its voice was both hers and not hers, layered like a dozen versions speaking at once. Cell swallowed hard. "What happens if I merge?" "You remember everything," it said softly. "Every death. Every restart. Every scream. You become the real one again. But you don't leave." "And if I delete?" she asked. "You stop running. You go dark. You stop existing." The thing's grin split wider. "You're just a save file, Cell. A ghost in a hard drive. A memory of a person who died. You are me." Cell's stomach nodded. It was true. She could feel it, like a truth she'd known all along but refused to look at. She wasn't alive. She wasn't even playing. She was being played. Her finger hovered over A, then over B. For a moment she imagined merging. Remembering all of it. Living forever inside an endless loop of her own horror. The crash. The darkness. The static. Every death, every replay. That wasn't living. That was rot. Then she thought of deleting. Not a death, she was already dead. It would be like closing a book, like finally putting the controller down. The black-eyed cell leaned closer, its eyes now bottomless voids. "Choose," it hissed. "Or I'll choose for you." Cell took a deep breath. Her hand stopped shaking. And she hit B. The screen froze. The thing's smile faltered, flickering like a broken file. It opened its mouth to scream, but no sound came. The void beneath her cracked wide open, swallowing the floor, the photos, the code, the thing. Everything went black. Then a single line of text appeared. Instance 44 terminated. No more restarts. Goodbye, Cell. The heartbeat in her headphones slowed. Then stopped. Silence. Her PC shut itself off. The room was still. For the first time in days, maybe months, there was no whispering, no flicker of static, no presence behind her. Just her desk. Just the dark. Cell sat there for a long time, staring at her dead screen. Then she realized something. There was no reflection in the monitor. No hands. No face. She reached up to touch her cheek. There was nothing there. Outside, her apartment window flickered once, like a dying pixel. And then it went dark. Forever. The end.